Hey, we're here.
We're here. We've made it. What's been going on, everyone?
My camera must be crooked. I have to get a skew here. There we go.
Can you do the zoom out, Randall, if it's with three people, or does that just fuck the
Oh yeah,
technology?
look at that.
There we go.
Yeah, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
I don't know.
This is how you shuffle the speaker. Who do you want to talk to? I'll just shuffle the cards. All right, Here we go. There we go.
How you guys doing? Was it a busy day for you as well? It was for me.
Man, it never stops.
It never stops.
I thought when lockdowns first hit that everything would slow down, and no, it just, if anything, your work hours become longer because there's no switch off between when you're at your desk at home and when you're doing home time.
Yeah, and for us, we one of our main employees is in the metro area of Melbourne, and we're regional Melbourne, so we lost him like months ago. The ability for him to cross the initially they had a ring of steel that you could get a work pass to get through, but then they did away with that, and he just couldn't come to work. So basically, we've been doing it all ourselves, and I'm kind of sick of that.
Yeah. Randall, I may as well. I mean, most people from the vaping side of this live stream will know who Steve is, but we've also got a fair few viewers from sort of your neck of the woods. So just some brief background for Steve. Steve is the owner and operator of Victory Vape down in Dallas, Victoria. They're, I'd say, one of the OGs of the Australian vaping industry. I think you were one of the first shops to pop up.
One of the first, yeah. I think Vaporize beat us. They were just selling their own e-liquids, and I think we were one of the first for sure to stock hardware, and it was about 8 years ago. Yeah.
And what got you into it?
Wow, that's very early.
Just discovering vaping. It's my sister came from the States and got off the plane. I picked her up at the airport. She hopped in the van and pulled out her little Kanger EVOD and took a puff. And I said, "What the hell is that?" And she said, "It's a vape. You guys don't have those yet?" And I said, "No, but they didn't get color TV till 10 years later in Australia either. So I wasn't that surprised. Still hard to find Reese cups, or Arizona iced teas. But, I snatched it out of her hand because I learned to smoke with her, brothers, siblings, pinching dead cigarettes and saying, "Oh, we're going to the woods. We'll be back in a little bit." And, taking our gum with us and sprays and stuff like that, and Visine for other things. But no, and she said, "Yeah, I haven't had a cigarette in 2 years." And I was like, "Wow, that's what I need." So, I got myself a vape immediately, and I haven't had a cigarette in 8 years since the first day I got my first vape. Simple, just not one. And I guess after the 30th person asked me, where'd you get that? I said, I think I need to do this myself and start bringing them to Australia. And I'd missed out. I had this idea years ago that you could take a phone and an MP3 player and a camera and combine them into one. And I missed that boat. So I didn't want to miss the boat on vaping, so I had to get in. And, we just scrambled together and started a vape shop. I think I had the idea on a Sunday and had it launched by something like the following Friday, And I think we sold only one product. And now we have, I don't know, 15,000 products, something like that, maybe more.
Oh, just a couple.
Yeah.
So, what was it like when you first started? What were the regulations like? Because it seems like
there was nothing. They didn't even know what it was. So it was the Wild West. You could theoretically have sold nicotine back then. There was no regulations whatsoever. It was, I don't know, maybe 6 months later that they busted the guy in Vince out in Western Australia for selling Vapes, and that was the downfall for many years for Western Australia and he won the court case, but then a Supreme Court judge overruled his winning of the case. Like, we can't have that. It's number one. And they took him again and basically ruined his life,
He went bankrupt, didn't he?
He did. He took all his goods. I think he had to sell his house and probably broke up his marriage, everything that could go wrong. And that was the beginning of the government fucking with us. And they have not stopped for 1 minute. It's like Brian knows. If you wake up in the morning and there's not a bad vaping story, you go, oh my God, it's a fucking great day.
Yeah.
They just come up with the most insane bullshit, Scarrett getting on, and from the TGA, a scientist in charge of the Therapeutic Goods Administration, whatever it is, assholes. The A stands for assholes. He gets up on there and publicly says, that stuff has chemicals that are in antifreeze. Well, no, propylene glycol and ethylene glycol are a different molecule. I learned that in like 10th grade chemistry, dickhead. And by the way, yes, it is in pet safe antifreeze. It is propylene glycol. You know why? Because it doesn't hurt anybody. So yeah, maybe it is, there's water and vodka, but you don't call it alcohol, and they don't stop all this new thing funded by Twiggy with, guess what? We decided we were going to find some contaminants in vape juices. So we took some 6-year-old Mount Baker vape juices and something from the Outback Cafe, which hasn't been open since 2014. So that pretty well puts the date on it.
Or even worse, and we spoke about it last week, but they were talking about, Australian-made juices, and 3 of the fucking bottles say they were made in the USA.
Or Malaysia. Yeah, right. And guess what? We found trace elements. You take anything and run it through a mass spectrometer, you're gonna find trace elements of shit, formaldehyde. It doesn't matter. The vinyl flooring in here, I know for a fact, all vinyl flooring gives off dangerous levels of formaldehyde. Do we quit using vinyl flooring? No, because somebody in the building industry wants to make sure that's there. Your draperies. I can see you've got draperies there. Those are giving off formaldehyde.
I knew it. God.
That's what it was. Get rid of them, man. Get rid of them. If not, the TGA will come and take them away. Unless somebody in the building industry or the fabric industry line somebody's pockets. That study was such bullshit. I mean, anybody that believes anything that's funded by the Lung Council and the Cancer Council, who are in the business of making money off of cancer, I'd believe Trump over that, So it's just idiocy. But it happens every day. The girl, oh my God, look at this girl. It's 15 years old. She got a disposable vape a year ago, and she went to the hospital. And in the hospital, what they don't say was she was tested for meth and showed up with meth and cannabinoids. So, what put who where Miss Little Karen Concerned Mom, It's ridiculous the way they come at us, but they buy into it. I mean, everybody, I talk to all the vendors. All our sales are down, this last couple of weeks because they've been slamming vaping everywhere they can. And then they'll forget about it. They'll go back up. And, this new prescription thing, I know for a fact already out of our customer base, just the people I know 5 people have gone back to smoking. Because, I can't be bothered getting a prescription. I'm just going to go get some Duries, man. It's
somehow this is a public health win.
Right. It's that Occam's razor, or the path of least resistance. What's going to happen is people will take the easy route. Those, I'm never going back to smoking. They're never going to force me to, because I wouldn't let them win over me. I wouldn't. If I had to grow tomatoes and derive nicotine or sunflower seeds to make my own vape juice, I would do it. You know. But that doesn't help, little Gertrude up in some country town and, on the border of New South and Victoria that doesn't have a doctor that'll prescribe her, that doesn't have a computer. She's basically doomed,
Yeah.
And besides, she saw on Sunrise that they're worse than smoking, worse than smoking. Even the TGA admits now that they're okay. They might be a little better than smoking. Even though they're far better. They've even given into that. And you know what? They screwed up. They made it a medicine now. So if you need your medicine, you need your medicine. You can't stop you from getting it.
Yeah, I saw some comments when you were mentioning at the beginning that the vape industry was the Wild West, and someone said, "Oh, we should just go back to that." So, based on that, one of the things I was saying,
it will.
Well, that's the thing. So, one of the things I was wondering to myself is, Uber, when Uber first arrived in Australia, it was operating illegally. I met a couple of guys that were operating Uber here in Australia, and they literally just locked their office doors so the cops couldn't get in, and they just kept doing it until eventually the government went, "Well, fuck, let's just handle this." So, without trying to undermine my own organization, sometimes I do wonder to myself if maybe the industry should just go, "Fuck you, we're going to help people quit smoking, and you can either put us in jail or you can fix these laws."
Well, we're put in that difficult position. I would agree with you 100% and change the name of your organization to Outlaw Vaping instead of Legalized Vaping.
Wild West Vaping.
Let's face it, some outlaws were pretty cool. Ned Kelly's the national hero. So, Billy the Kid, for America. But we also are stuck in that hard situation where a lot of us are considered industry leaders now, and we're expected to do the right thing and toe the line and be ethical. And, we don't want to lose a business that we've worked on for 8 years because, somebody dobs us in, and it's unfair advantage to the others that are following the rules. I don't think we're going out of business. Some will feel it. We're fortunate that we have a big enough customer base. If we didn't get a single new customer, we'd survive, and not many are going back. Some will, but not many are going back to cigarettes. Why would they? Tastes worse, costs more, kills you quicker. So, although we won't take that route, the black market will flourish. There's no doubt, absolutely no doubt. It already is with that disposable thing, because nicotine disposables were so easy, and any dodgy tobacconist is already selling Chop Chop, which most of them do. Most independent tobacconists and some chains have Chop Chop in there, which is really as big a legal problem, or considered as much of a legal problem for the government as heroin is. Containers come in every week from China, and it gets distributed around through a black market and organized crime. And guess what? Now they're doing the disposables, and they'll continue to do it. They'll catch, this whole thing with a prescription, 500, 600,000 now Australian vapors. If the number keeps rising, it does keep rising because it's the natural progression. 600,000 vapors having to order their nicotine from overseas, once a month, say. That's a lot of packages coming in. And, Joe and his 3 mates down at Border Control, with everything else they have to look for, guns, heroin, fentanyl,
all the fun stuff.
Steroids, all the stuff in the health industry they banned last year, in the health supplement industry, all that stuff. They've got to try and catch it, they're going to be lucky to catch, I don't know, 100,000 of them, you know. So those guys will continue to sell those black market vapes. They'll get harder to get. The price will go up. But, you know, somebody posted a photo yesterday of a cigarette machine. I think it was Newcastle. Yeah, it was Newcastle. That had Winnie Blue's grape disposable vape in a cigarette machine in a pub and in the wide open. You know, would they do that with a joint, for example? You know, okay, get your dime bag here, you know, in a pub. No, but it's completely accepted that they can sell a disposable vape, and partially because the people at large know there's really no danger in that. I don't like disposables. They're probably not as safe as, you know, me using my, you know, Barrister Brews MSDS sheet accompanied quality lab produced, or, you know, Clouded Visions or Oceana Liquid Labs. We know their labs are specky. Those guys, you've been in the labs, Brian. They're not
Randall,
bad.
they're like basically hermetically sealed. So like,
yeah,
they've got like a
and
pressure system to keep dust
and
and shit out.
they take it seriously themselves, and they're taking precautions. So I really doubt that those contaminants they found in Twiggy's study, I doubt they were amounted to a hill of beans. Parts per million. You know, did they tell us that? Did they say, oh, yeah, we found the slightest trace of a benzaldehyde in there? But, you know, when we tested, or nitrosamines, for example, but when we tested bacon, we found that to be there in 10,000, you know.
Yeah.
That's why Champix just got recalled, which was the government recommended way to quit for the last, you know, 10 years.
Oh yeah, Randall, I didn't tell you about that. They found that Champix may cause cancer.
Cancerous.
Of course.
And it contains unacceptable levels of nitrosamines, which are also a problem with like bacon or any smoked meat or wine, or red wines. Do we still get to buy red wine? And, you know, I'm glad they pulled Champix from the market. 500 people have killed themselves. 20 Aussies killed themselves. And directly related because it's a psychotropic. Not that some psychotropic drugs might have uses. In their case, it was people were doing things they normally wouldn't do. You know, the woman who said, oh, I took Champix and I was picking up my daughter at school and I picked her up. She climbed the car and I slapped her. And I don't even know why I did it. And that's what they were recommending. But that's been recalled. So their number one way to quit has been recalled. The other ways, of course, that they recommend are, you know, Nicorette, Nicobate, Nicospray, Nica up your ass, whatever. Are every single one of them the same as us vaping? And we're, you know, how you consume that nicotine. Nicotine, they admitted with that nicotine is not the demon. It's the smoking and the carcinogens and the, you know, the monoamine oxides, the toxins, the carbons, the 7,000 chemicals in a cigarette, of which 70 are carcinogenous to a high degree. So when you find a speck of a part per million in some old e-juice that you were looking for that, I know from I did my degree, I did a lot of research, did a lot of chemistry, did a lot of physics. When you want an outcome, it's always biased to achieve that outcome. Statistically, that's the case. You're going to find a way. It's like when my geometry teacher said you couldn't trisect an angle, and I came up with a proof that actually did, but it was cheating. It wasn't truly trisecting an angle, and had her stumped, and she threw an eraser at me. But if you want to find a solution you can find that solution. You can weigh data. You can, decide, like, why didn't they say, okay, let's go to the top labs in Australia and get one juice from each of them? Let's go to Clouded Visions. Let's go to Oceana Liquid Labs or Limitless, the ones that are, or the people that are putting out the majority of what people consume. And let's test those. Let's tell them what we tested, and let's tell them how much we found in there. They didn't do.
Yeah, they went to like Roger's Abattoir and also vape juice. You know what I mean?
We got this one from the sperm bank, and
what do you know? It has cum in it.
Legendary paint shop in Melbourne that sold nicotine since day one and still does in a paint shop. So if they found a little lead in there, you would say, okay, it just leached over from the paints. But it's not. The Aussie juice manufacturing has become world class, and it deserves the accolades that would go with that. It brought, and it wasn't that way in the beginning. I agree. It was bathtub stuff. People, well, I can make e-liquid. Okay, I'll go to my kitchen table and make some. And some of those became bigger businesses and moved on. But they're certainly world class now. We get, for some of the finer brands of the Aussie brands, we get orders because it's something different from Montreal or Dallas, or Abu Dhabi. Frank and Atticus is one that people order from overseas a lot. And I have no doubt it's as good and as clean as any vape juice in the world, And they're pushing the whole flavor. They're really pushing towards trying to get rid of flavors, because that'll be their next thing, because that's what people like about it. So they'll take away what people like about it, because they really want us to smoke. They really do. 600,000 Aussie vapors every morning when they wake up now, they are not reaching into their pocket and pulling out 30, probably about 40 now, $40 and laying it on the table every day for the government. That's what they're missing. 500,000 times 40, 35 every day. And don't tell me politicians don't care about money first, because we know they do. That's really, it's kind of the definition of being a politician, is to get in somebody's pocket. Our health minister, never mind that he botched getting COVID, vaccines in multiple times. He has no medical or health background, education, qualifications whatsoever. None. It's like, I know Brian's politics. He probably doesn't like Biden that much, but at least Biden said, who am I going to point to my secretary for the environment? Oh, maybe I'll get a scientist. Oh, who will I get for my secretary of the interior? Oh, maybe I'll get a Native American, with a history of the country and, that knows what's going on. Secretary of Education, maybe I'll get a teacher instead of someone like Trump did that makes all their money off of student loans, who's the brother of the guy who makes all the money off of all the military, the mercenaries. It's a money thing, and politicians are slimy, greasy fucks that, crawl into a rock and, should be beheaded by GWAR. And they are routinely.
Well, I'm glad you brought up beheading. I think Randall has lots of questions about GWAR and beheading, which is like
Randall, they don't really cut their heads off.
Oh, really? You just break the illusion.
And I will tell you that we had spew factors for shows. Like how big a show is, you get a bigger spew factor. Soundwave was a huge spew factor. That spew, by the way, is a special recipe made with e-liquids. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. It's made, but it's similar. It's made when we first did our first shows. We went to the butchers and we got some blood, cow's blood. That didn't work too well. It stinks. It rots. My Marshall amp smelled like an abattoir. You know, I think we only did two shows with that. Then we went with Cairo syrup. You guys would probably call it golden syrup, a nice thick syrup with red food coloring. Attracted roaches, really sticky. So finally, what we got was Sleazy Pete Martini, our manager, Don Draculich. His dad worked at an ice cream plant owned by Philip Morris, making Breyer's ice cream. Philip Morris makes ice cream too, by the way. And he got a substance called carrageenan that's made from seaweed. It's viscous, so it holds together well, but liquid enough to be propelled through the air. So the primary ingredient of GWAR spew is seaweed.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
When are you?
You add green to it and it's snot, or you add or pus, or you add red to it and it's blood, or you just leave it that milky white, and of course, then it is. You know, you're blushing, Brian. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, when are you going to be the Australian equivalent of Dee Schneider and smack down these bureaucrats over vaping rather than over music censorship?
I try every day. I'll tell them to their face. I get on Greg Hunt's feeds, Twitter feeds, Facebook feeds. I do everything short of spelling his name with a C in front of him, you know. And I do tell him, "Bye, guys." Customers. Those are all our children we sell vapes to now.
Sounded like a school excursion.
Not do that. We do not do that.
This will be the one clip they take out of the entire interview.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the children do love us because we got their parents off the stinky cigarettes. So.
Mm.
And you know, if that child grows up and goes to high school and you know everybody's sitting around smoking, you know, they're not going to pick that up because they know there's a safer alternative, you know. So, you know, that is a bit of education. You know, I got my son a vape before he turned 18 because he was thinking about smoking cigarettes. I said, no, have a vape instead, you know. And he's actually given up vaping because he wasn't using nicotine anyway. So it's easy to get off, you know. Yeah, I would smack him down. I do try and smack him down. Dee Snyder's a great guy. The last time I met him, he was a hard worker. The last time I met him, I was in New York, and he was at a shop called Trash in Vaudeville that was sold rock and roll clothes, you know, and down in the East Village. And he's a good guy, good GWAR fan. And I like his perseverance. He reinvented. He did everything to survive when hair metal kind of took a fall, and he was, you know, selling, you know, stuff, phone sales. You know, hey, do you want to buy some new windows for your house? Or, oh, we have light bulbs today. You know, that kind of stuff. And he worked real hard. He ended up scoring that Sirius or XM radio show, which kind of set him up nicely, I think. So I think he's doing all right now. And yeah, but I admire people that stand up. Frank Zappa, who went in back in the PMRA days, where he went into court, just blew them away with his intelligence, unraveled every argument they ever had. Did censoring music work? No, it didn't. You know, the first GWAR record had to have a caveat emptor on it. We actually did it in Latin for him. You know, this may contain some language that your mommy doesn't like, you know. And kind of shocked me when I came to Australia and I was listening to Triple J, and they said, you know, they would say, play songs with, you know, fuck or shit or whatever in it. And that doesn't happen in America. They bleep it they do a beep. You know, even college radio cannot play a song with profanity in it. When the Pretenders did that first album, oh fuck off! First time fuck was said on the record, and you know they would always beep over the music. So censorship doesn't work. You know, did prohibition work? It lasted like 3 years and created the mafia. You know,
Mm.
And the Kennedys and you know a few other people like that.
What did censorship of metal create?
Really nothing. Black metal. I don't know. You know, they just took it to a. You know, don't tell me I can't do that because what's the first thing I'm going to do is do that. You know,
Mm.
and you know, metal's. You know, it's just gone to where metal's even hard, you know, Lamb of God's mainstream in a sense, in the sense that they sell out huge auditoriums, you know. You know, I always thought of GWAR as kind of an evil teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles, but you know, it's become a day-to-day thing now too, you know. Even Dave Grohl kind of reminisces about the fact that he passed up playing in GWAR, you know. Of course, he's getting his Hall of Fame nomination from Paul McCartney, and GWAR's not yet. So, but it's prohibition and censorship doesn't work because people do what they're going to do. Let's look at marijuana. I mean, 30 years ago, when a college student like me might have been smoking a lot of pot, nobody dreamed that it would possibly be legal. And it's legal in more states than it's not. And I know dozens of Australians with prescriptions now. It's, you know, thank goodness for people like Fiona Patton, who pushed that. I think she went into Parliament stoned, I'm pretty sure she did, and said if she couldn't vape her marijuana, she couldn't put up with those assholes. And told them straight to their face. And I admire people like that do stand up. Unfortunately, they are the government, and they can whack back as well. You know, so I'm not too scared of them, but I do keep my distance from Canberra, you know, or parliamentary offices. We had our big protest on the steps, and there's still in the steps of Victorian Parliament. They're still running that was like 6 years ago, and they're still running that footage whenever they have a story about vapes. They cut to a big guy I know that had a big mod and was blowing a big cloud, you know, looking all mean and stuff, so they can show how bad it is, you know.
I think Dave Grohl lived out his fantasy in that Tenacious D movie, right? When he was dressed up as Satan. That was his. He was like, "This is my moment."
That was good.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. He did pass up on his chance to be GWAR. He revealed that just last week. So he said he had even designed his costume, but I have no idea what it would have been. People were conjecturing as to what his name would be, but the only thing I could think of was Pooh Fighter or something like that. I don't know.
He's got a great metal voice, though.
Oh yeah, he does. He's a great musician. I mean, he's a great musician. He gets crap, but I've met him a number of times, and he's a truly nice guy. He's nicer than I am. You know? I'm pretty nice. But I went to a party at one of his houses in the Outer Banks in North Carolina when I was there, and it was a nice party. It was one of those kind of no dickhead kind of parties, you know. And I saw that thing where he got the little girl to play drums. That just made me cry. He pulled her up on stage, and she played drums with the Foo Fighters. I don't know how old she was, like 6 or 10 or something like that. And, you know, I think he's honestly got a good heart, and he'll go, I think the young lad will go far. Amel and the Sniffers are going to open for them in Spain. I would so
Ammo or Amel and the Sniffers?
Amel, Amy. Do you know them?
No, I just like the name. It's a good name.
Like amyl nitrates, or
Yeah.
but her name's Amy, and they're probably the band out of Australia right now that's doing the best internationally. They announced a show in Brooklyn at the Williamsburg Theater, Williamsburg Music Hall, which is a pretty big hall, I think, like kind of like our Forum in Melbourne, or I don't know the equivalent up in Sydney, but not the Opera House, but just shy of that. They sold it out in less than an hour. They're opening.
Wow.
They're opening for the Foo Fighters in Madrid, and they're just a bunch of mullet-headed, good old boy bogan and boys and a girl out of Melbourne, just playing really no nonsense Stooges style rock and roll, and they've captured the heart of the world like that. Check them out, Amyl, AMYL, and the Sniffers. They seriously are going to be bigger export than AC/DC was for Australia. Bigger than Parkway Drive, which you probably listened to. I haven't heard anything from Parkway Drive in a minute, but I'm sure they'll have something happening soon. They've certainly done well.
AC/DC have the record for the longest rock song, which spans for 14 albums now.
Because it's the same chords. And they did it all wearing shorts. That's even better.
Yeah. I will say though, when I saw Guns N' Roses in Sydney, that's when I think it was one of their first times here, like as a group or something, and then Angus Young came out just for a song or two. And I've been to hundreds of concerts. I've never heard a crowd so loud when Angus was playing with Guns N' Roses. It was insane.
I think he's another truly nice guy. I think the brothers and, the whole crew behind that AC/DC machine, I think they were good, honest, hardworking people that did well and didn't let it, ruin them. And, I think it's pretty wild that Axl sang with Guns N' Roses, right? I mean, I sang with
with AC/DC, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wild that they went there. I heard it was not that bad, but I still get my AC/DC eras mixed up, which is Bon Scott and which is Brian.
But, I think my rule of thumb is if the song is good, it's Bon Scott.
And I do want to go to Fremantle to see his grave one day. That was when Dave Rocky came here with GWAR. That was the one thing he really wanted to do, was go see Bon Scott's grave. So, and I think he did do that when he was in Perth. I didn't see him in Perth. I'm sure he would have gotten there. And that was a very sad thing. You were lucky to see him at Soundwave, because it was only a month, 6 weeks after that he passed away.
Yeah, it wasn't long after.
Yeah, it was like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
I still remember, like, after the Soundwave in Melbourne, I went back to the backstage area, and I'd hung out with Dave earlier at the sideshow at Russell Street, and he got me into the Soundwave and stuff, and he was coming back off the stage, and I was able to, hey, Dave, and he came running around and gave me a big old sweaty, odorous hug, and we talked, and we started to walk away from each other, and we both got like 10 steps and turned around and ran back and hugged again. And I remember saying to him, or he said to me, I don't know which one said it, you never know if we'll ever see each other again, and it came true. So that was pretty sad. He was pretty well my best mate for, a decade, and you don't get over people like that. You know, I'll say fuck heroin. You know, it was really a fall in getting on prescribed oxy, that led him to that eventuality. And fuck, it's not hard to get a prescription for oxy in America. You know, all you have to do is ask for it, I think.
It's not that hard here either.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, hard to get a prescription for a vape though.
Hard, yeah, yeah. Fancy that, or for codeine if you have a toothache, Panadol.
Hey, do you know who made codeine a prescription only drug? Greg Hunt.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
just fucking insanity. The reasoning behind it was multiple levels of retarded. So they had studies that showed that in America, some kids were basically like breaking down the drugs to get the codeine out, and then fucking themselves up on codeine. But that never happened in Australia. There was no evidence of that happening in Australia. So they went, oh well, let's just make it hard for Australians to get codeine because
yeah. And
I can just imagine it's just so funny how these politicians project these worst case scenarios, these really outlandish scenarios. It's like, what are you doing, Greg? Are you at home shooting things between your toes while you're thinking up these things? And you're like, oh yeah, actually kids could do this, and I don't want them to have my life, so therefore I'll ban it.
he's
you know what I mean?
He's fucking putting codeine in his eye.
Yeah. I think with Greg Hunt, it comes from a combination of being a very, very small man. He is, and I'm sure he's got a small penis. I didn't ask his wife the last time I saw her, but
you don't have to ask if she looks unsatisfied.
You know, so it's a combination of that, and coming from the white silver spoon, white privilege, Phillip Island, went to prep school. I went to prep school, but I was the bastard child of that. But you know, he had every advantage in his life. His daddy was a politician, so you grow up to be a politician too. We'll pave the way. I've got a mate down here that'll hire you. You know, we'll do this, we'll do that, and you know, until you get to know him, he probably seems like a harmless little fuck. But
it's people like Greg Hunt, which is why I fully endorse bullying. I'm serious because when I was a kid, if I acted like a snake at school, I'd get my fucking head kicked in, and it taught me not to do it.
Maybe he wasn't bullied enough. But give me a chance. Yeah, I just think it's ridiculous to put my personal health and well-being in the hands of somebody who I think is stupider and shorter and has a smaller dick than I do. You know, it's like, dude, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not going to let you do that. I don't care if you are the health, even just because somebody picked you and said, oh, we'll give him this portfolio. That's what they give them portfolios because they kiss their asses, right? Is that how it works, Brian?
Basically.
Yeah.
You curry enough favor within your factions, and eventually you get a ministerial gig and get some portfolio. It's all just deals for mates.
Yeah, never mind qualifications. But yeah. Anyway, let's not talk about him anymore. He doesn't deserve our time.
I'm perfectly qualified, and I'll have you know that 2 inches is above average.
Do that again. Do that one more time.
So stop looking. Trust me, you'll really feel it this time.
Oh my god!
Oh, I just broke my screen. I wish I had Dave's Phallus of Cthulhu. I could have squirted it right then. You know? GWAR was going to cut off Greg Hunt's head, but they couldn't. If they made it that small, nobody could see it from the crowd, anyways. No, Tony Abbott was a welcome sacrifice for that, and I will absolute claim responsibility for the fact that it had happened. Dave said, "So we're coming to Australia. What do we need to do? Like, kill some kangaroos or koalas?" I said, "No, dude. They don't like killing kangaroos and koalas. Really, just make a guy that has giant ears, tall and skinny with giant ears, and cut his head off. They'll know what you're talking about." And sure enough, they did. And
I wonder if there's any.
Yeah, because they say on the stage, they're like, "Who is this?"
yeah.
Like they don't know on the first show they did. They're like,
But I explained it to him and told him what a dick Tony Abbott was and how worthy he was of being, killed. And, to be fair, GWAR kills everyone. So, they've, many times Trump lost his head, and I would have loved to have swung that axe. But they've done it to Biden. So, they did it to the Pope. They did it to, one time we were playing with the Butthole Surfers. We crucified Santa Claus for a Christmas show upside down on a pentagram, so anyone was fair game, I'm sure we probably killed a few Easter buddies,
I just found the video.
Which
I'll
one?
flip it over in the oh, you did. Okay, let me have a look. Let me share my screen. Oh my goodness. All right, hang on. It always takes me ages to share screen.
Oh, that's it. I see it.
People always ask me what my political ideology is. I should just point them to this.
All right, hey, let's have a look.
Is that the Sydney one or the Melbourne one?
That looks like Sydney because it's overcast.
It
Yeah.
is. Yes. Nice clean cut.
That's
so amazing.
I remember like the amount of outrage amongst like boomer media when that happened.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
I just love how they get outraged after the fact. It's like, you've come into my world and welcome. This is what we do and this is what we consume. And I'm glad you got to experience it. It would be an honor to have your head chopped off by GWAR.
Yeah.
It would be an honor.
It wasn't easy in the early days. There was a couple of arrests for obscenity. I mean, it was like Jim Morrison, and all that kind of stuff when he pulled his dick out in Miami. But a lot of times the costumes fell off and leaving nothing to the imagination. That happened 2 or 3 times. And a couple of times there were arrests. And, the first tour we tried to do of the UK, we were completely banned. I think it was Thatcher was still in, and we were completely banned from even entering the UK. So things have changed quite a bit. Then I come to Australia and Stacy says, "Have you ever watched Eurovision?" I go, "No, not really. We don't do that, but let's watch it." And I started watching it, and a band comes out, Lordy, and they're wearing all of these GWAR looking outfits, and they won. They won.
Yeah.
And I said, God, that's kind of flattering because I know they got their whole stick from GWAR, and then they came up to accept the war, and they said, in their finish or whatever it is, "Oh, we would like to thank, we owe it all to our masters in GWAR, and we got to, we thank you. And then, of course, they got Billy Vanilli for lip syncing later, but it was pretty short lived. But I like to think that I started a band that inspired the winners of Eurovision. That's going to be on my epitaph.
That's like if some company came through and said, "No, this isn't called a vape; it's called a schnape," and it's perfectly legal now. And then suddenly it was all the rage.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. I'd like to know there's something going on in your audio.
Is that your stomach?
Oh, is that your dog? Is that your dog growling?
Yeah.
Whoa.
He
Are you sure it's a dog and not the GWAR monster Gorgor?
Yeah, exactly. He saw a small little child across the road and wasn't happy about it.
I don't know where it is, but they did leave GWAR in Australia because it was cheaper than taking it back. So somewhere in some storage units somewhere is a giant GWAR monster. I remember it had, I think that was No Sleep Till when they played there at the Flemington Raceway. Gorgor malfunctioned and we had to do some quick repairs backstage to it to get it back together because it may look like a spectacle, but a lot of it's put together with gaffer tape. It's and latex, a lot of latex.
I'm interested to know if you think any metal bands or fanatics have taken things too far. So, GWAR, it's like, it's a stage show and there's off stage and on stage. Do you think that people have, embraced it too much, even some performers, or do you still think it's just...
I would say any white power metal. Yeah.
Okay.
Any Nazi metal, and there is, and there's idiots, and, I'm not a big fan of the right wing, and, I'm not Jewish, but I still hold it against Hitler, and
I don't think that's a prerequisite.
Yeah, I'm not a Jew, but
no, I don't think like Texans, like the Texas politicians said last week, if we're going to teach the Holocaust, we need to teach the opposing view too.
Yeah, it really bumped up industrial oven sales, and that's a good thing.
They walked that one back. I didn't mean to say it that way. Okay, maybe not, but they did. They even rescinded on that one. But no, that whole wall of death thing's kind of stupid. I think like Lamb of God are good friends of mine. Randy used to come. Hang on one sec. You guys say, I'll get him to hold. Victory. They hung up.
It was Randy. He's like, what'd you say about Lord?
That was me talking about you, Greg. That whole wall of death, get people getting hurt. You don't want that to happen. And I think Lamb of God, what is I saying? Randy was a good friend. I remember him when he was 16 coming to the club I ran. And do you remember they used to be called Burn the Priest? They re-released that stuff. I booked the first 10 Burn the Priest shows in my club there.
Wow.
And really proud of where they've gotten to. And, against all odds, it's not easy to become one of the biggest metal bands in the world. It's just not, no matter how hard you work. And I think they may have stopped doing that at their shows because it's just kind of silly. A mosh pit, is one thing, or a little bit of violence up in the front, a little slam dancing and stuff. But that wall of death was getting kind of why, I don't know. I don't understand. But
well, before my time, I think a couple of people died at what was the thing before Soundwave? Big Day Out or something? Is that it?
Big Day Out.
Yeah, Big Day Out. Yeah.
I think they did like a wall of death at like a Limp Bizkit concert or something like that.
Oh, Limp Bizkit's now coming out as like dad rock,
Yeah.
I never thought Limp Bizkit was a good idea.
45-year-old blokes fucking blasting Chocolate Starfish in there.
I always had with that crossover metal funk that had. I didn't even like the Chili Peppers much, a few songs, but whenever somebody's slapping a bass, I just want the bass to slap them back, I prefer, if I'm listening to metal, I prefer to listen to somebody either that's got a message that I agree with, not necessarily politically correct, but politically aligned message with myself. I mean, why am I going to listen to somebody that's singing, Nazi anthems or something? Because I don't like Nazis. Or I like that really tech metal too. A lot of early math metal kind of came out of Richmond, where I was from, and that whole, you know, let's make this really make this really hard to count, you know. And I do like a lot of that.
Yeah, like Meshuggah.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Meshuggah.
Yeah.
I just refer to that as like really fucking hard metal, but like,
But it's got, you know, it's got the drummers playing like a measure 16 and then a measure 12 and then, oh, let's switch it up and go into a halftime 7, you know, and things like that. And the technical prowess of that kind of stuff is pretty amazing. We got to
they're for sure they're robots. They're not human. They're cyborgs for sure.
Meshuggah is just an AI bot that's been programmed to.
Yeah.
You know, you can program music like that in any recording environment these days, but then you have to be able to perform it. So that's another thing. But I like bands like we played kind of in between, like who's the band we played with in Eschweg? In Flames, Swedish.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they've got good melody and, you know, a variety of sounds, a combination of melodic singing and the death metal singing. I do get tired of the constant, you know, death metal singing. It grates on me after a while. If it's balanced with melodic singing, kind of like Lamb of God does, you know, then it suits me all right, you know. Each to their own. But, you know, I guess that's where they draw the line in metal. You know, I don't think it's that great an idea to burn churches down. I don't go to church. I don't like churches, but, you know, it could be a historic building or something like that. You know, maybe, you know, if you didn't burn it down, maybe 100 years from now, it'd be a pagan enclave and, you know, they'd need that shelter or something. So I think the black metal, you know, Satan has to have something to listen to too. You know, Bob likes his tunes. I mean, the first time somebody played a tritone interval, which is an odd interval in music, which is basically Black Sabbath. That's a tritone.
The Devil's Triad.
Yeah, it was called Diabolus de Musica. It was banned from Western music for centuries after the Inquisition. But, you know, those were the same people that sent Columbus over to destroy a whole indigenous people and make sure that he had his own day. Last week was Columbus Day, and I think most of my friends celebrated it by visiting the Columbus statue that they tore down in Richmond and dumped into the lake. And he was an evil fuck. He came and enslaved a whole peaceful indigenous tribe of Arawaks, and I'm writing a song about it right now, as a matter of fact. And wiped them out. You know, wiped them out completely. There are no Arawaks left. Arawak comes from a Caribbean word that means peaceful. But not once Columbus got here and took them back to Queen Elizabeth or Queen Isabella and showed her, hey, here's an Indian. We can get them to harvest sugarcane for us and take over this thing that I thought was India, by the way. What an idiot. Thought he was in India. You know, there wasn't a curry in sight and he thought he was in India. You know? But I don't particularly like imperial colonialization, and I don't like borders much. I know they have to be there for some things, but you know, we're going to run into that with this post-COVID thing as we try and travel, whether you're vaccinated or not. What is that country cross that imaginary line? What vaccine do they want? Which booster shots do they want? You know,
when you cross the international line between Queensland and New South Wales on a plane, you have to put your mask on once you're in New South Wales airspace.
How stupid is that?
Because suddenly,
the virus knows.
Yeah,
the virus knows.
And you know,
I have to go.
I look at the situation in America, and you know, of course, a lot of Mexicans want to come to America and work because there's work there, you know, and it pays a little better, you know, and you know, they have Reese cups and things that we don't even have in Australia, and they want a better life, so they want to cross that border into the land that they took from them, you know, into the land that Andrew Jackson and people like that took from them. I want to go back to Texas, which used to be Mexico, or California, that used to be Mexico. Oh, no. Trump built a fence there that blew down. Oh, I'm glad it blew down.
That's all right. You can just build a ladder.
They do.
So that's pretty much all the time we have for today. But thanks so much for coming on. And
for us, too. I'm sorry it was late. It's just getting work done. Yep. And keeping the vapors happy. I'm glad we had a chat, and we'll see what happens with the future of vaping. Personally, I'm of the ilk that it won't go away. It'll be battered down and hang on in desperation and end up. We know it's the future. It is the future. I mean, Steve Forbes said that in Forbes magazine 10 years ago. He said 20 years from now, we won't see smoking. It'll be vaping. You know, he's a pretty bright guy. And I think everybody knows that. So I kind of recommend that the government of Australia find another business to get into other than being the biggest tobacco company in the world.
yeah,
I think we need to diversify. Maybe ice cream. That worked for Philip Morris. They got into ice cream. They make Toblerones. They make those little oranges that break up into their chocolates.
they're delicious.
Yeah, that's Philip Morris. So
Wait, that's Philip Morris?
it is. I
Oh,
used
bro,
to
I love
wait
Philip Morris now.
Yeah, he's a hero in my book now. Hell yeah.
fuck.
because I'm from Virginia.
If Christopher Columbus had brought over chocolate oranges, I'd be like, fuck yeah,
Everything's
Columbus.
fine.
Yeah. But because Philip Morris was in Richmond in Virginia, I used to do a lot of high-end hospitality where I'd wait on VIPs. I waited on Reagan and Thatcher and John Glenn and John Lennon and you know, people like that, because I had Secret Service clearance. I served Dan Quayle his dinner one time. I didn't not give. Who was it? Didn't eat broccoli? Bush. Anyway, what was the point of that story? Oh, I was waiting on all the top executives of Philip Morris, and I did that for several years running. And they'd bring me a Christmas basket with a carton of cigarettes, their newest invention. One time it was an ashless cigarette that had a wire in it. When you smoke it down, it kept the ash on the wire, so it wouldn't fall off.
Wow.
Yeah, the dead didn't catch on. And I think there was an electronic cigarette, a really, really early there. Not that didn't work, threw it away. But they always brought me those Toblerone oranges. I mean, the Toblerone, those chocolate oranges from whoever makes it, but it's owned by Philip Morris. And Breyer's ice cream. Breyer's ice cream is a great product. So diversify if you want to stay alive, Australia. In the same way, you might want to start manufacturing some of your own goods again, and maybe keep a few of your raw materials to make those things, distancing them to other people. Yeah, maybe hold on to the lobsters too. That was a big one this week. I don't know. I'm not running for Australian politics ever because
We'll see.
I could never navigate Canberra streets. So you don't make any sense.
Prime Minister Balzac.
Well, if Fiona gets in and she wants to make me Minister of Marijuana, I'll take that one. Okay.
That's a good job title, Minister of Marijuana. Well, thanks so much, Steve, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Good to see you again, Brian.
Talk soon, guys.
Everyone remember that. Oh, hello.
Thank you for doing all the work while I've been loafing here. And we are closed now, so see you later.
See ya.
Okay.
All
See
right.
you
Thanks,
later.
guys.
How do I get out of
Always
this?
remember that the media has trace elements of bullshit. So just remember that,
I
guys.
would say it's more like toxic levels of bullshit. Many parts per million. Yeah, I do remember that. Thanks. See ya.
See
Thanks,
you
guys. Bye.